it from the storm. Boys, water down its roots with tea, and the sun will always shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the fifer, boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys, always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys, fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys, stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys, high on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys, it will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys, faith in the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt. Put men of God in jail. Harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
Ready on the right, ready on the left, ready on the firing line. Fires, mark your lanes. Yeah, ever been there? Anyway, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com. We're also on Liberty Tree Radio on the Liberty Tree Radio channel on YouTube. You can go there, real quick hookup, live streaming right now. Been working pretty good for the last couple of weeks, and also we have the archives there for other live programming that has been on LTR. It's actually there in the scroll, in the many different postings. Go back through, find what's there, plug in, you can listen to the programming you missed. Anyway, we're also on AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, and CB-based stations, along with Ultra Net Hallmark and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon and evening to all of our friends all around the clock. And that includes out there in the great state of Jefferson, the CONUS 48 lower, along with the two outlying states, the territories, and the clock. 5:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the bottom of the state of Michigan with medium temperature. It looked like it wanted to rain, but it didn't rain. I'm sure it still wants to, and at some random point it will because, well, it's just the way the weather looks here in the peninsula. We're in the lower peninsula. of the two great peninsulas of the Great Lakes area. And let's not forget the Ontario Peninsula on the opposite side of the water there in Canadianistan. Anyway, it is Thursday. It's that other T-Day. It is the 30th of July. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, 2020. Old Earth calendar, 2020, year of conflict, year of betrayal. And, of course, the Dance of Swords. The battle begins. The bad guys are already, it's rather funny. They're in motion, but, they are that probing amoeba. When the amoeba hits an obstacle or something that burns or, is aggressive, there's a reason that the term amoeba is used when describing a lot of, bizarre activity by, pretty much anything. In that it's not really all that bizarre. They find resistance, they back off and freeze, but then they try to go around. There's a blob trying to encompass you. That's how the enemy works. When they run into a situation where they've been trying to pump more fear into you, but it gets you pissed off, they don't want you pissed off. They want you to be scared. They want you to be crying, whining. They need more Prozac. You need more Zoloft. You need more drugs. You need to be able to chew your toenails and fingernails down to the quick. In fact, you even have toenails or fingernails left. If they've properly instilled the fear, then you shouldn't have any. In fact, I'm surprised you have any digits left. Once you've chewed down the toenails, there's always the toes themselves. Fear! Fear! Well, on the other hand, you get an attitude, in which a lot of Americans are turning back to attitude constantly now. Going shopping is a sick, bizarre ritual. Has anybody been... I want you to do something, really. I want you to go to a store and sit and watch people, which is what I do. I don't go to any stores where they demand a dog muzzle. And if you watch, there's no happy people. There's nothing. If anything, there's a little frenzy by the kids because maybe they'll get something, goodies or. What's the purpose behind going there?
Oh, it's getting better down here, Dad. It's not just a dog muzzle now, but Fiat says we should all be wearing goggles and gloves. And of course, they're pushing the goggle thing down here where I am. Might as well. Why not just say full NBC kit?
No, you know what they need to do? We need to tell them that there is just like the throwaway. Here, you want to have some fun, guys? Just like the throwaway face, dog muzzle, a clear, solid and sealed plastic bag wrapped around your neck and properly closed.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
will protect you from all of life. In the short term, you won't have to worry about the coronavirus. In the long term, we don't have to worry about the stupid.
I hear we got another caller trying to break in there, Dad.
Yeah, caller, jump in there, please. And again, take off your clear plastic bag with a duct tape around the neck. Go ahead.
Whoa, boy. Hey, am I off mute?
Yeah, you're off mute. You're on.
You're on.
Okay.
You're on.
Yeah, Ed, I got YouTube. I do not have my radio stream or Ted, so they both go not online.
It is streaming. So let me see if I can figure out what's going on there.
Well, I'll even check from my end.
Libertytreeradio is currently offline.
Let's see.
Oh, it wouldn't be surprised. With the things going on right now, the bad guys are...
should be up there.
With the bad guys, the Kurds are in trouble because, what are the enemy's legions made up of? I want everybody to think about this. Well, Ed's checking, whoever's here listening, because we still have the conference line. What is the enemy's rank made up of? Neurotic hypochondriacs with paranoid tendencies and delusions of hidiness. Yeah,
I would say refresh your...
Jerry's kids would have more sense.
I would say refresh your stream, caller, because I just went over there right now, and I don't know if everybody can hear the little echo, but it's coming across on my end right now.
Hey, Ed, you are 6 times as loud as Mark is. You're
right. Yeah, he'll be a little more powerful being on the main board.
No,
but yeah, if you can roll back a little bit the volume.
He just blew one of my speakers down. It's really hard for me to adjust all 3, which is why I usually don't try to come up.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I'll back out and see what happens.
Thank you for the
Thanks.
follow-up. Appreciate that. Any feedback, guys, we don't have a problem with, because, again, this is how we
I
make
just
sure
want
that...
to say I'm on the phone right now, but in the other room I have the computer on, and LTR online, it says, there's a little box that says the stream is off air. And
which page? What are you telling us that?
Libertytreeradio.4mg.
And you're trying to use a little player there, right? We had that problem last week. I was trying to fix it this past weekend. It did not repair. So I'm having to wait for their tech support to get back with me, but that's the MRS feed. It's their encoding that's not working properly. We have the correct address there, but it is not the little flash player that's there isn't working properly. But if you
I didn't know if you knew, so I just wanted to throw it out. I'll
Whatever you're listening to right now, do me a favor. Go over to Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, because I just plugged it in immediately, and I'm coming up, and I heard your voice on time. Only the delay on YouTube is interesting. It's not even but maybe 2 seconds.
That's because of the type of software that I'm using there, Dad. I'm not
That's
using
good.
YouTube
In other words, we're almost on real time / point for point. So if you again, I'll bring up the fact that to kind of take load off the other streams on top of everything else. For the moment, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube. If you pop over there, you're going to get a good clean feed. It only takes 2 steps. You go over to Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube. At the top of the page, you have the live stream. You touch the live stream feed and say play, and instantly you're up. So it's probably right now, for a lot of people, especially with phones, if you have a YouTube Connect, you have a YouTube app link, then pop into that, go to Liberty Tree Radio, and then right there, first screen that pops up will be the live stream on the top of the scroll. Touch that, and you're on the program.
But real quick, the stream that he's trying to listen to that you usually listen to, there are 2 blue links at the top of the screen. One says my radio stream, which is that same feed that's there. It will open in Winamp if you have Winamp installed, or you can tell it to open in Windows Media Player, whatever player that you prefer to use that can play that kind of file. Or you can click on the Sam Cloud link there, which will take you to another flash page, which is Sam Cloud, which should have everything going on that page, even with a little playlist. It shows you what we played before until it went up live, and then it'll just say live. But there are several ways to tune in and link, but yeah, I'm aware of that link being damaged. I've been trying to fix that. It has not been cooperating.
All set, caller? All right, very good.
North Carolina.
We heard another voice there. Who was that?
It's Don, North Carolina.
Okay, what you got, sir? Go ahead.
YouTube's down. Well, I mean, you're not even listed on YouTube no more. I'm on the phone line with you. That's it.
On YouTube, you have to actually punch up Liberty Tree Radio, all one word. That's your search. It'll take you over to Liberty Tree Radio, and then you're there.
And right at the top, I'm looking at it right now, just refreshed.
Yeah, I just went there myself.
It's showing Liberty Tree Radio live stream, live now. You click that, and that's the live stream, what's going out right now. I see we got 41 viewers over there right now who are tuned in and listening that way, and I'm blowing their eardrums out every time I talk.
Well, you're more balanced here. So again, yeah, you do have to search Liberty. You have to search Liberty Tree Radio. I did it myself. I just did it here while I'm on the air and said, okay, let's see how it works.
What time is it where you're at?
5:16 Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. Well, YouTube that I tried to get on was about 5 o'clock, and it was dead. So I'll go back.
Okay, we'll try it. We'll see what happens. Like I said, if you're having something that's interesting, it has to be in your area. I mean, Ed's in Texas, I'm in Michigan, and we're in 2 different locations, and I can punch into Liberty Tree Radio right away.
Keep in mind it is YouTube, and like I said, we could be delisted or shunted by their buffering system. Now, it's my account. I'm logged into the Liberty Tree Radio YouTube account, so I can see it there. And sometimes they do goofy things where when you're logged in, you can see stuff that other people can't. But I can see that we have, right now, 41 people watching according to the readout I'm looking at right there over on the YouTube. So
Exactly.
You'll have 42. You'll have 42 in a minute.
Very good. And again, we'll just keep an eye on it, guys. We want to experiment. Eventually, they're going to kick us off YouTube. I mean, I guarantee it. The communists are in motion. We're in war. The facade is going to disappear dramatically here very soon, which is why everybody needs to have alternate communications set up in every way you can imagine. And I can't stress enough, with some of the reports I had this week, actually, what was it, Tuesday and Wednesday, on some of the stuff going on out there in the country where people said, well, the cell phones were so cluttered, blocked, supposedly. Well, they weren't blocked. It's just there were so many people in one place, and it was out in the middle of a remote location, and the service only has so much capacity. People forget this. Radios don't have that restriction. Real transceivers, CB radios. I would rather get a call out on a general broadcast, help, than to try and do a cell phone while you're busy being beat to death, or being attacked with bat faggots, whatever's going on. Because if you're using your radio locally and you're calling out, you've set up a radio net, and your allies will start to repeat information and transmission, but you get out to anyone and everyone who can hear. You don't care if they're aggressors that can hear. Who gives a squat? It's the allies that have the ears on that are going to come to your aid. So remember that omni/general broadcasting is priceless in a battlefield transition situation like we are right now. That CB radio, all of you need to hook up what you can. I know there's a dozen things to do, but take the time and hook up the CB radios. I'm going through towers, found a bunch of decent buys on towers right now, and we need to put them in different locations, and I need more. Piece of steel pipe, 10 foot or 15 or 20 feet long, taking advantage of the top end of a banana mast. You got to come down in with the pipe about 3-4 feet. So if you go a little longer, don't worry. You'll get another 10 foot of height. Then you've got the antenna itself on the top of that. Height means everything for broadcast range. The higher you can get that antenna, the greater the distance and the more efficient your transmission is going to be, okay? But CB radio, marine radio nets, VHF, UHF, take your pick, whatever you've got, AM, FM out there, whatever you're going to commit to, get it hooked up so that you're screaming to the wind, to everybody. Because the cell phones are the first thing that is absolutely it's a dog leash up your arse. That's why they want you to carry one. They can shunt or isolate locally whatever they want to do. And in fact, here's one thing to look at. If you use your cell phone, beep, 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 oh, it's not working, oh, it says no service, wait a minute, well, it could just be a boo-boo. When you go over to your radio net and you try to use it and it's blocked too, you're under attack. See, it works like a Russian dead hand. Either way, if you can't get out, if your radio system is not working and your cell phones are not working, you are in the epicenter of whatever attack is taking place. So you instantly go over to defense/prep mode / arm yourself for true. You are under attack. You see how that works? See, as everybody goes, well, they could shut off this, and they could shut off that. The more that you have on the checklist of, yep, confirmed. If I can't get out, then it's more and more likely as I test the different equipment in a very short period of time that I'm the epicenter of the attack, and therefore I need to pull out all the stops. I need to shut off all the safeties. We are going to war. We are only a breath away from it will be time to shoot their ass. See, that's the advantage, guys. It's like I said, you heard a term I used, Russian dead hand. You know what a Russian dead hand is? The Russians already had the Dr. Strangelove doomsday trigger pulled. That's what people don't understand. The Russian security mechanism for their nuclear arm was not go and send the order and launch weapons. They already had the order to launch weapons. They just had to make sure every day that the bosses sent out a telephone call. If the bosses didn't send out a telephone call in the code, everybody was already ordered to fight. That was that's why when he did Dr. Strangelove, let's understand something. Commies in Hollywood knew exactly what they were doing. Number one, they needed to undermine and attack the American system, which was holding back the Soviet from pretty much every direction, including the Jewish mobsters who did not have control of the nuclear arsenal here in the U.S. And so what they did is they did a bunch of propaganda pieces, fail-safe, Dr. Strangelove, blah, 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 blah. Go right down the checklist. And all of those were because, well, the Western nuclear ordinance was controlled by the Christian population. Oops. Whereas the Jewish mob had everything else, including Russia, and they still do, and China, which they do now. And those are nuclear-capable countries that the kosher mafia promoted and helped to create and made sure were put in place. From before World War II and during World War II, with the betrayal by FDR of the United States and the shipping of massive amounts of nuclear secrets across the Alaskan frontier through the Lend-Lease aircraft program, which was reported by American patriotic agents and military personnel over and over again. But the communists that were in the FDR administration, who had betrayed us, well, since way before World War II, 1933, 1917, the kosher mafia progressively had made sure that they stole everything they could, including the kitchen sink, whenever given the opportunity. Now, what's fascinating is that Russian dead hand idea isn't a bad one. In fact, think about it the other way. You already know, like I said, if you have lack of communications, you're under attack. There's a little comment. A lot of times, remember, Hollywood's made up of the Jewish mafia. Most of them are Reds. When you watch the little Star Wars prequels that were done, remember, well, this is, separation of communication means, is the, identifying an attack. We are under attack. Remember, the Trade Federation and the siege and all of that? Yeah. So it's true. Now, that's one of the many ways that you can actually have a preparatory, you have an action, a plan of action in the event something does transpire like this. Prior proper planning prevents piss-poor performance. Doesn't take much to do, but it just means you have to stay calm.
Dad,
and now
real
get
quick,
ready to repel borders.
I have to come up on the air and do this. I don't know if it's what the caller was having a problem with, but I got to say thank you to Joe for sending me an update on the other two streams and sending me a screenshot. That was very helpful. If you're going to report on a stream being down, the web address where you're having the problem and the screenshot does help. The SamCloud was down. It was giving me a fake reading. I'm bringing it back up now, and I also reset the MRS feed. So, guys, if you got kicked from the MRS feed, it's just because I'm resetting everything real quick to bring because the MRS feed and the SamCloud use the same streaming tool. It's just bringing everything back up to sync over there.
So there we go. And again, we appreciate the heads up by our listeners and pay attention, but also, again, feedback, who, what, where, when, so to speak. What specifically was being used and what were you observing? So that feedback allows Ed to correct it appropriately. Interestingly enough, the feed to, like I said, YouTube has been going up or has been staying up. I actually am monitoring it myself here in a sidebar, so I can listen to a whisper off to the side and tell whether or not I'm listening to me, because I am echoing off to the side, but I'm not because, well, I'm hearing that delay. That's how it works. Now, it just sounds cooler when I do that. when I do the fake, echo. So anyway, guys, for everybody out there, communications is especially critical right now. Bunch of stuff going on. Of course, now, if you caught Dr. Kevorkian / he's not a traitor if he never worked for us. The lookalike to Burns, who's even doing the Burns finger puzzle now. Anybody notice this? Theochestein, Blatzenstein, whatever his real name is, okay? The little rat Jewish piece of trash that is, intentionally helped with the foreigners to try and undermine the American economy and destroy America, has been doing the Burns thing with the fingers collected. He was in the baseball stadium by himself, laughing his ass off how he's got everybody manipulated. He gets a seat and none of you do. That's an example of the Twilight Zone royalty complex. Understand that. Well, anyway, he made the comment, or one of the several comments, is that, well, as much as any more important than anything is the idea of using the face mask is a demonstration of submission. Now, remember that line from 300? Bending a knee. Submission. I don't know about that. Well, again, we all agree we're going to have to get rid of this problem, and that means we're going to have to put a bullet in our ass to get rid of them, because there's obviously a whole bunch of Epstein blackmail stuff going on that's keeping Dr. Kevorkian in power. What do you think's keeping him there? I want to ask everybody, okay, Trump right there, at least have his sorry ass arrested, put under house arrest, or put under, here's the way to do it. I'm sure maybe they've already done this. Mr. Fiacci needs to be under extreme security by a reliable security force bat faggots, FBI, maybe the federal marshals. The federal marshals should be watching him and actually have lots of coverage on him. At a certain point, then he should just disappear. But you see, the problem is they keep giving him traction and power, which tells me instead that Trump's ass is being blackmailed by the Epstein types to keep his, sorry hind end where it is. Either that or, again,
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise he should be gone. He should have been dragged out, put against a wall, and executed. But instead they got him there, and they're keeping him there, and that character is becoming extremely kosher arrogant. It's a Jewish arrogance thing. You don't think so? Look at him.
Oh, no, he is. I mean, have you heard his latest pronouncements that everybody should be wearing goggles, too?
Well, it's part of the laugh. It's a hoot for these characters. I think, like I said, they keep opening their face. The only good thing, more and more people are realizing, they're playing you like a rube. This is called playing the rubes. For the Jews, playing the rubes, playing you like this, playing you like a fiddle scam, one scam after another scam after another. It's like, are you crazy? But a lot of people are. Here's the problem. Here's how you peel this off. Number one, people who should not in any way, shape, or form be making any decisions for any of you, but are trying to bleat like a stinking goat in your face. If you're on Prozac or any psychotropic drug, you have no business telling me how to do my life. If you're on Zoloft right now, you have no business telling me how to run my life. You can take and stuff it up your hind end sideways. In fact, I'll take my 10.5 boot and put it up yours. A lot of the Fruit Loops, and let's put it this way, we know, the absolute minimal number is that right now there's between 20 and 40 million people who are new psychotropic drug incompetents who can't handle life and are on psychotropic drugs as new customers. There's 20 million people out there that need to be put in their own little, I would say, colony sanitarium and pushed away from all of us just to get them out of our existence. But it's worse because there are more. Now, who the hell is this Fruit Loop who can't handle life on their own to tell you about how you're going to live your life? Right off the bat, they are mentally deficient / incompetent.
I'd say that includes all the snowflakes.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. How many of the snowflakes, how many of the hairball coughers, how many of the commies out there on the street have to go back or are even carrying in their pocket a government-sponsored drug right now? Anybody think about that? Well, at the very least, let's think about another element here. Okay, Ritalin. Ritalin is now the norm for blowing the brains out of a lot of kids, which has brought a lot of these characters to where they are with a second tier of the psychotropic drugs, which will help to blow their whatever competency they had, whatever level of any kind of gray matter they had between their ears has pretty well been scraped out like a gourd, chemically, okay? So between the Ritalin scam from one level, and then if they can, pumping them into the psychotropic drugs in the other, you're so far around the corner you can't see the corners anymore. In fact, the other three you already went around. And those people are the ones that, these sad, sick, sad sacks, and like I said before we were talking about the network, the programming itself, when you go to a store, there isn't anybody happy. Why are you going to the store? It's not giving you any gratification. There is nothing that is pleasurable about shopping. Why are you going there? If the process of our society, we'd have fun doing things. It is like they're going through a sad, sick regimen. They're terrified of life. They've got to take drugs to stabilize their small brains. And then on top of that, when they do get out there, because you're actually not in misery, you aren't fearful, you are, in fact, I'm very competent and understand full well nuclear, biological, and chemical threats. Now ask yourself, for 30 years you've heard me on the air talking about this. I mean, anybody knows I'm religious on NBC, nuclear, biological, and chemical. You ever tell you to wear a coffee filter? Now, there is a need for it.
Not even once.
Not even once. But here's the thing. I will tell you, I have probably 4,000 of them. I have probably 4,000 or 5,000 of the throwaway masks, of the throwaway, surgical masks. Key word there, surgical. And I probably got, I would say, 200 or 300 of the U.S. military cloth reusables, not disposables, that were the last model that was sold, and I have them 10 to a box. They're in plastic, in another piece of plastic bag, in a box. And I got them for pennies years ago, and they're stored away with all our medical supplies for our medical units, okay? And they would be used for the intelligent, common sense purpose they were intended. Okay, now, if you truly believe, if you are so sociopathic and paranoid of life, that you believe that now you need not only the face mask, which, by the way, let's go back a little bit. 3 months ago, 4 months ago, everybody was going to Walmart and high-fiving, and we could go to Walmart, but all the other stores are closed that are American. Communist Chinese China marts were all open, but, you know, if you had a regular American store, oh, they castrated and lobotomized you, didn't they? Nobody was wearing any masks. Nobody was wearing any goggles. Nobody was wearing any face shields. So what the hell is going on now? And no, it's not because, oh, we learned more. No, my ass. That's all BS. Our level of working knowledge of personal protective equipment was just as high 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, 10 months ago, 1 year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. And by the way, the 50s all puts us only into the 70s. So we're not talking the Stone Ages or the Dark Ages. My God, in the 1970s, you can watch 100 movies about biological weapons, biological threat. The plague is going to get you. You need to know how to use PPE, personal protective equipment. You're doomed. You're going to die if you don't have blah, blah, blah. So you see, all of the garbage they pull out of their ass now is an absolute fiction / a lie across the board.
And don't forget that movie, The Day After. What a love.
Oh, yeah, well, that's, of course, the nuclear, the day after we're doomed. Now, even there, again, I will point something out. If you didn't have anything else, for the sake of sucking big junk in, notice I didn't say you're going to stop, you put a rag over your face, you take a T-shirt and make a face filter like that. Why? Because big-ass particulates of fallout, when you suck them into your lungs, are what kill you. Does everybody understand that? I've spent days, months, if I were to actually accumulate, calculate and add up the number of hours on this program that we've covered nuclear, biological, and chemical threat, it comes down to years. I've been doing this program for 30 years, 3 hours to 5 hours a day. And in that time, we have reinforced and reinforced and reinforced and reinforced nuclear, biological, and chemical threat potential. Now, I've also, and again, this is an I told you so, if you recall 1 year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, what was obviously on the horizon, and now you are seeing it, is what if they took and used something that wasn't what they said it was, lied to you about the whole scam, and told you it was an evil, big, like almost nuclear-capable biological weapon, when in reality you have the sniffles. Do you remember what I said about that? You could drop, in fact, one of the options was you could drop CSCN into an area. You propagandize everybody. If they've got red eyes and there's snot coming out of their nose, they've got durafyocinium. They're plague agents. You're going to kill ya. You're going to die. And you know what? They actually have done that with this, people. Exactly what I've described repeatedly in different programs about the fake biological attack. With, in this case, an absolute fabrication based upon the idea that, again, it's a military action by the globalists against the American people. Now, if we really were serious over the decades, and I mean over the decades, we've had so much time so that virtually every American, if it was properly promoted, and they don't want that, and I'm going to tell you why. If you have the goggles and you have the coffee filter on, well, you're going to be conditioned to throw the junk on that, well, if it's actually your lowest end of defense. When you have a real threat, it wouldn't do you any good. But you got to remember what they're doing. If I am going to create a threat in your mind The last thing I want you to do is actually look at the threat and then properly prepare so that the threat is absolutely minimized. If I'm a control freak government with Fiachi/Dr. Kevorkian planning on murdering a bunch of you, I have to have you ill prepared for what it is that they're going to use in the way of real commercial/professional ordnance when the time comes in biological or chemical. Government, when it's a police state, does not want you to have a gas mask. What do you need that for? Well, Dr. Kevorkian said that our brains will explode if we don't wear all this stuff. I'm just going to wear a gas mask. You shouldn't do that. But I'm going to wear a gas mask with an oxygen supply even so I can actually get more oxygen to my brain and more fresh, clean air and stuff. How's that? You don't need that. You need a coffee filter and a half-assed Chinese-made face shield and a half-assed Chinese-made set of, hey, what about, how about Speedo goggles? Wouldn't the Speedo swimming goggles work? Of course, they're kind of tight and they kind of choke the eyes, but it would still protect your eyeballs, right? I mean, after all, it's for swimming in chlorinated water. Right? Wouldn't Speedo goggles be well, they are an option. I have hundreds of those. Every time somebody gets rid of a pair, I grab them. I even got 3 or 4 of the cheapy Chinese pairs the other day. But I keep them for a very different reason you might imagine. Now, although they are a cheap pair of goggles, by the way, they're a cheap, painful pair of goggles. You wear them a lot. And I was a swimmer. I used to be a competition swimmer when I was young. God, it's like, squeezing my brain. That's why I would never use them. I just say piss on it. I think I can handle the water. I didn't have an allergic reaction to bleach, so I was cool. But fact of the matter is that if they were serious, they would have, well, let me point this out again. Let me explain to you something. How many channels right now, how many goofy BS channels do you have that play movies on TV right now? You've got YouTube, you got Netflix, you got Amazon, let's go right down the shopping list. There's not one of them where they have a loop where you can go in and it says, hello, I am Bob the instructor, and we are going to show you how to properly use a gas mask. This will be a half-hour introduction to basic gas mask 101. Here is a gas mask. It is an example of the average form of mask for PPE that is available in the system. This is a Mark 1 Type 2 Ascaris with, low-end training filters applied. Note the color of the filter. Note the markings on the filter. Do you see a movie, or do you see a video right now anywhere where you can do that 24/7?
Hell, Dad, even these people that are demanding you to wear the mask don't have a video like that for the mask, and 90% of them are running around with the mask below their nose.
Right. Well, again, the whole fact of the matter is, they can't have. And this is my point. You won't see it because they need you ill-prepared so that when the police state attacks you, you are unprepared. Do you see how this works? Because otherwise, we would be showing everybody, well, wait a minute. Okay, let me do something for you. Here's some. Guys, go over to OSHA. They actually do have all of this junk on the shelf, and they actually have what are mandated PPE classes that you used to have. Now, mind you, I'm going to point something out. Where this really came from, where they really hit the peak on this, let's jog your memory on a fun one. Asbestos. We're all going to die from asbestosis. Oh, God, I can see it coming out of the walls. Asbestos.
Hey, Dad, with bringing up OSHA, we've got a few guys on YouTube that they have to meet OSHA requirements for their work. One of the things that OSHA won't let them do is wear one of those masks for long term because it becomes a hazardous environment under that mask. You don't get the air quality that you're supposed to.
Right.
They put up YouTube videos where they're measuring it and they're showing you. Because of OSHA regulations, they're not allowed to wear them as long as the government's telling you to wear them because they will make you sick.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. Now let's get. No, we're getting ahead of the details. First of all, we do have in OSHA. Going back to asbestos. Let's start here. Asbestos. That's one everybody can remember. You're all going to die. It's going to, your lungs are going to be torn out of your chest in bleeding humps. Your nose is going to be, of course, eviscerated with searing pain and shredded materials that do not allow your nasal passages to operate properly. Go right down the shopping list of all the reasons that the shredding and tearing of the microcellular structure of the asbestos, brings about. Okay? We had a whole bunch of mandatory classes just on PPE for that purpose, personal protective equipment. And everything that we are talking about with regard to these jackasses like the Dr. Kevorkian and all the other fools, throw it all out the window. Now, something that is part of the regimen is oxygen and air efficiency / purity maintenance and intake, okay? Example, if you are using even a regular air supply, do you know that there is a limit to how many times you're supposed to reapply, and then you're supposed to withdraw from the environment, take off the PPE equipment? It can be your Scott Air Pack, it can be your hose line air supply, and you are supposed to rest out of the environment and separate with everything for a set period of time. Now, that varies depending upon the temperature and the environment you're working in. Because remember, if your clothing is saturated with because when you're in gaseous environments or where you have a contaminant, let's not forget something. If you didn't wear a PPE suit, when you step out of the environment, you're vaporing still. So you first have to work like you're in a spaceship. You have to come out. You have to allow everything to circulate before taking your personal protective air system off. Now, there are a number of solutions there, but the first one would be actually you wear a Tyvek suit. But if you don't have the Tyvek suit, you were wearing work clothes, then you have to vapor for so long, and then you're supposed to check the air quality with a sensor. In other words, you're scanning yourself like in Star Trek, people. And this technology is all off the shelf. And if you doubt what I'm saying, here's where you go for a lesson in PPE. I want you to go to Grainger's. Well, they're a hardware and plumbing supply. Yeah. And everything else, including PPE, personal protective equipment. They market everything. From the simplest and cheapest up to Star Trek and U.S. military grade technology for scanning air quality, air purity, and every variation on what could be in the air. And you can spend any amount of dollars you want, or thousands of dollars, to buy the technology required. It's already on the shelf. 20 years ago, I was buying standard U.S. military, this year, 2020, hell, 25 and 30 years ago. This is the year 2020, blasted, I'm getting up there. I went out and bought, for every one of the departments and shops, conventional Star Trek type tricorder scanners for air quality control. Cost about $1,200 a unit. They were available straight through Grainger's. I could have bought the one that was $3,000. It would have had a complete and full range of scanning capability. And that would include high biologicals. The unit I bought is the exact same unit that if you are an NBC, NCO, or officer, you would be running in a live fire environment, which in fact it's the same equipment they were using in Desert Dust 1, and in the upgraded models, Desert Dust 2, the invasion and stealing of Iraqi wealth begins. Okay? That technology is all off the shelf. All off the shelf. Go ahead, we got a caller. Who do we have?
Hey, this is Carl in Virginia. Hey, so these masks everybody's wearing, they're pretty much like trying to use a chain link fence to keep out the mosquitoes out of your house.
And the mosquitoes still get you. Don't they?
Yeah, but even if you truly believe that makes a difference, then shouldn't anybody with a beard be required to shave their beard so the mask gets right up against the face?
Isn't that what we do in the military or fire departments? Yes, they do.
Yeah. So if anybody with a beard gives you a hard time about not wearing a mask, you just say, "Listen, man, you
here's how that works.
Right now,
the first accommodation that they make is that you basically have to have an Amish beard cut, where you do the cut right around the seam line for the mask. But anybody who tries that, You have to cup the beard and get it up inside. The Navy was allowing everybody to go to beards. Remember that? We went back, and it's been 30 years now. They finally let them go back into using wearing beards in the Navy first. And everybody thought that was cool, except ships have a tendency to burn and have damage control units. And the first time anybody wanted to try and wear that beard with a mask, they found out kind of how useless that was. And so they learned real quick that maybe the beard wasn't such a good idea. And, of course, then they accommodated with his short beard. And, you trim around the neck and throat area so that the mask could seat. But you never could get it quite right most of the time, and then you're hacking and gagging. So, yeah, again, all these fools out here that are trying to get in everybody's face. Number one, my problem with most of them getting in your face, they're probably on drugs. Now, government is doing this intentionally to create a petty conflict situation at the lowest level to eat up our time. Why is government doing this? Why are the globalists doing this? Think about when they talk about divide and conquer, this is one of the things where you have all these idiot sticks who never had a clue, never want to listen. Obviously, they never listened in the biology class they had in high school, and if they were in college and they had to take at least some science, they didn't listen to anything in those science classes. In fact, they all became a bunch of mindless, earless, brainless dumbasses. But that's the fool who's in front of you now with the bug eyes and they're bugging out of their head. Understand, this is why, again, divide and conquer, but it's waste of resources. This is why I've said many times, avoid the idiots. It's time to stop going to any place that demands a rag on your face. And everybody that is a brain, think about this. There are two good things that happen. There are diminishing returns because it's like police at a gun shop. It's like cops going to a gun shop. You know what eventually happens? The gun shop goes out of business. It may take a little time, but the gun shop goes out of business. Why? Well, because the cops always like cops and consider all of you as peasants. They first go into the shop, then they get their little benefit from the gun shop because he gives them a discount. Then more of them show up, and then they start hanging around more and more in uniform, not just out. And everybody else they get snooty, or they start eyeballing everybody. People get kind of, disconcerted. Then they make snide comments, or they'll act, and the owner will, if he's really an idiot, and a lot of them are, will start sucking up to the cops, and they'll go along with treating the other customers like, hi, what do you want? And then after a while, the cops who aren't buying anything, and by the way, if they do, they get a discount, they're not promoting the business, and they're not going to. And after a while, you'll see a going out of business sign, and everything is discounted. Not much, because everybody's buying everything. They don't care who's at the counter anymore for the moment, because they'll probably be using the guns on the cops who are going to be coming for their guns, for the people's guns. But it's the same with all the rest of this garbage as far as the mindset and the attitude, okay? If we walk away, get everybody you can to walk away from Walmart and any big chain and do minimal or no business. I got to say, there's two businesses right now, and I'm only a little guy. I'm not going to put them out of business, but a lot of people would, and a lot of people I think are hurting them because they won't go into places where they're demanding or where they demanded when we didn't need it, face masks. Menards was one of the first to become radically froth-at-the-mouth-ized here in Michigan, and I think all over with all their stores. Oh, you can only come in this door and only go out that door, and you don't have to wear masks. It's like, well, then you don't need my business. Now, other companies down the road, the only way that they could get that to stop, the bleeding to stop from those companies, their logic is like in Michigan, Greta, Bruce Jenner of the state of Michigan here, said everybody's got to go back to wearing masks. Now, the logic is that because people were walking away from all of the nutcase operations that were following the commie orders, but it was arbitrary, now they made it mandatory, and their logic is that you're going to go back to those other people. No, I'm not. I can guarantee we're actually spending, for instance, with Menards, we're spending only about maybe a tenth of what we would spend normally in that business. And that included a lot of other activities and stuff where we might go in and, take care of, business because, well, as long as we're here, we'll buy the stuff. But since they're the way they are, I refuse to do that. I won't go in the place. Not going to spend $100 or $200 or $300 on building supplies there. I'm not going to buy their, plywood, not going to buy their cement, not going to buy go right down the shopping list. Now, if everybody did that, all these communist Chinese operations would die. They would go out of business. Because the brain dead, the frothing at the mouth brain dead, I want you to pay attention and look at what they're carrying out of the store. They're not carrying much out of the store. They don't have cartloads and cartloads of stuff. They don't have pallet bins of stuff. No. And just like the cops at the gun shop, eventually the gun shop will go out of business. What will happen is all these little China sports stores are going to have their neurotics showing up, but the neurotics are paranoid in all directions, and the neurotics, the hypochondriacs, are crazy town. And eventually, when they'll as they're told to bump up, they'll start frothing at the mouth and biting at each other, and more will retreat from the public venue, and they'll have fewer customers still.
Hey, Mark.
If they don't have you to froth their mouth at and bug eye at, they're going to start eating each other's tail. Their drugs will demand this. I have seen this before. I've watched this. I've even warned you about this. I watched this at the University of Michigan. Knew exactly who the ones around the dope were. Watched in little microcosm how this works. I've seen this. I mean, my God, it's like we saw the micro, I won't say micro, but the mid version of this, and now it's bled out and vomited onto the streets of America. The only good thing, man, we could be killed. We just let the enemy kill themselves if we walk away from the enemy, step one. And then be ready when they come down the street and try to follow you down the street, then you bitch slap them and kill them. Because you've tried. It's like everything else. You know, I'll be reasonable. I'm not going to come near you. Just stay the hell away from me.
Mark, I don't know if you heard, but we got a caller on the line.
Yeah, caller, jump in there, please. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Mark. It's Phyllis. It's not just the big stores. Some of the smaller stores actually are doing the same thing. Not very many of them, but you walk up to the door or you walk in and they want you to wear a mask. And you can't even do curbside sometimes. They won't even do that. So,
if that's the case, then we don't do business with them. Like I said, right now, anybody, what needs to happen is we need to, even if we have to travel, go to where somebody is resisting, and it's like anything else. You've got to rally around the flag. I know what you're saying. A lot of the small businesses are trying to jump on one leg, rub their tummy, pat their head, and blink their eyes alternately until the inspector comes and says, you're blinking the wrong eye first. What? You're blinking the wrong eye. If you don't blink the other eye first, I'm going to close your business. Well, but last week you said, yes, I know, but I'm having fun and I'm able to power freak you. So now you have to blink with the left eye first, not with the right eye. That's how goofy this garbage is. And that's why, like the thing about Fiachi, / Dr. Kevorkian saying, oh, well, I got you all to wear the face mask, you stinking, rubes.
Now I want you to wear the
goggles and a face shield.
Well, yeah, the face shield. I heard the face shield thing again this morning, but yesterday when he was talking about, the teachers opening the schools up and what would be needed to allow the people to open the schools, well, gloves that you could preferably tape around your wrists with goggles and a face mask. And that's what I would say is, like, it sounds like, okay, why not just say full NBC kit? Because you're still forgetting about the ears. I'm waiting for the earbuds to come out next, or earmuffs, Dad, because that ear channel, that has to be the way it's spreading because everything else is blocked off.
Well, wait a minute. Let's stop. Before we leave here, let me include something. Welcome to the camp. I guess you all know why we're here. My name is Tommy, and I became aware this year. If you want to follow me, you've got to play pinball. Now put in your earplugs, put on your eyepiece. You know where to put the cork. Oh my goodness. Do you think Fiachi is laughing because he's old enough to remember the whole joke? Tommy, the rock opera. You might want to listen to the lyrics, dudes. Whoa, man. Far out. Whoa. It's like the 70s, man. Whoa. Anyway, we're going to go to break, guys. Phyllis, stay right where you are. Guys, everybody, we're going to take a few minutes here. And remember, organize, arm, equip, and train as militia. Establish a 510 program and get ready to go to war. But that means we also need medical, transportation, and communications units built now. We don't wait till later. If you got a construction company, you organize right around that, and you've got a combat engineer unit, and we need every one of those organized we can ASAP. Engineers, they're my buddy. I want them right next to me when we go into it. We'll be back right here in a few minutes. Second on the Intel Report coming up. It is Thursday on Liberty Tree Radio.
Sons of liberty, saved from the storm. struggle, boys, fight for the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys, stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys, high on the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys, it will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys, faith in the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12 gauge autoloader,
Sure.
the 45 long slide
Yep.
with laser sighting,
You betcha.
the Uzi 9mm
Yes, sir.
phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you could always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own. You pay a yearly rent. Although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate. And your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press. And you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold.
Right. She has been getting.
So your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt. Put men of God in jail. Harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you would fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? Oh, sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand. Defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
There we go. I know because I was making noise in the background during the intro. Sorry about that because the mute was on, but the four-pod keyboard operator hit that particular button. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour. Oh, the first hour went by fast. Second hour of the Afternoon Intelligence Report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, northeast, east, and central. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Liberty Tree Radio. We're also on AM and FM microstations, AM and FM conventional stations, and CB base stations, along with Ultranet, Hallmark, and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in Lower 49, which includes the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying two states, the territories, and the clock. 6:05 p.m., reverse that, 6:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is Thursday. It is the 30th of July. It is the 12th year of Open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist Occupation of America with a K, 2020 Old Earth Calendar. 2020, year of conflict, year of betrayal / the Dance of Swords begins. So, anyway, if you didn't recognize what that was from, well, that little quote I made at the end of the 2-hour block, I just dragged it up real quick. It probably was making a noise in the background. Sorry about that with the crossover, but let me play this. I haven't listened to this in decades, or actually years, but it's one of those things where Tommy the Rock Opera by The Who was mandatory. It was a big deal with FM radio back in the day. I'm going to jog your memory for you guys that are older. It was a big deal when the really good FM stations would not only play the music you wanted to hear, but every once in a while they would have epic hours or parts of the day where they would play an entire album nonstop, but especially when the rock operas came into play. And everybody goes, rock opera? Yeah, don't you remember? Tommy, the rock opera. And then there was Jesus Christ Superstar, man. No, Jesus Christ. Yeah, Jesus Christ Superstar. Oh, that was a long one because if you recall, either on album or on CD, it's like 2 full discs, dude. And the rock opera Tommy was a really big thing. They made a movie. They made all kinds of other sidebar videos before we had MTV or any of those. And so did most of the other big band groups like The Who, Led Zeppelin, whatever. But Tommy was a big one. Mandatory. Well, again, this little piece from Tommy, if you think about Dr. Kevorkian there laughing his ass off about how step by step he's going to screw your brain, and when you watch Tommy, the movie, which, by the way, was not raved about, but it was considered acceptable, it was done in the 70s, right on the tail of the when the album came out and the Who did their part, and they sold out to the man and actually let Hollywood make a movie version of Tommy. This little excerpt from that, I'm just going to play it real quick before we go to
Also, Mark, Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Oh, that would be another one. Yeah, Pink Floyd, man. The Wall, the whole album, dude. Now, before that, though, don't forget, even though it was epic because it's what brought Pink Floyd onto the arena side of the moon, playing the whole album. Because, well, that's another thing. Thank you for bringing it up. A lot of the big bands did not have album breaks. Pink Floyd's probably the best example. If you have an original cut, any of the original albums, I've got both. I've got 3 or 4 copies of Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon. It was nonstop. If you were, in fact, a real good DJ listening to any of these bands, guys, remember, it used to be you'd play if you were a DJ off record, and a really good DJ, man, knew right where to drop that stylus onto the record so it sounded like he edited it, man. And in reality, it was a little bit of an art. But a lot of the other bands, Jethro Tull, we play Jethro Tull here once in a while. The earlier first releases of a lot of the Tull albums are nonstop because it was typical in pattern for the era. And that was the big thing, to make it like a storybook album. Pink Floyd did that. Even The Who did with a couple of their albums early on. But the style changed. And needless to say, for marketing, because you didn't just want to sell the album, you wanted the radio stations to play the music so that you get motivated to buy the album. So having that subdivision there was especially critical for sending a platter, complimentary platter for, like, say, radio station use only of the music. You do that as an advance, and they'd start playing, and then sometimes they do what was called sidetracking, where you actually, and I actually play that game every once in a while, sidetracking with little Jethro Tull. We're going to do some Pink Floyd. That was an old technique where you brought in side tracks or other parts of the album that people may not have paid attention to, because every other station was hammering the big songs, which in reality were the promoted psychobabble songs to manipulate you as a population. Understand that. So anyway, just real quick, I'm going to play what I mouthed, and I got the words right. It's been a few decades since I actually, had listened to the song, in force, any of the album or anything. I've got copies of this. But here's a piece right now, Tommy the Who, and We're Not Gonna Take It. That's what's an excerpt from. Here we go.
Welcome to the camp. I guess you all know why we're here. My name is Tommy, and I became aware this year. If you want to follow me, you've got to play pinball. And put in your earplugs, put on your eye shades, you know where to put the cork.
Yeah, you know where to put the cork. You got the cork on first, though. You got the dog muzzle on first, and now he's going right down the shopping list, isn't he, boys? Well, yeah, and this is funny, isn't it? No, it is not funny. It is, of course, a typical situation. The East German communists are doing the same thing to the rest of Germany. And we are seeing this in, of course, all of the communists who have escaped went to Jewish Israel and first, and now the Jewish Israel types dumped a bunch of the communists. Well, actually, they needed to make money, so they came over here, and they run Homeland Security, and they run all these other operations, and they're playing their rubes. The same people who brought you the groping your crotch garbage at the airport are now laughing their ass off because they've got Dr. Kevorkian step by step telling you, pat your tummy, jump on one leg, blink your eyes left and right, and pat your head in sequence, or you will not be allowed to go and have your happy experience at the grocery store or the buy junk from China store. I mean, I won't be able to go and buy China junk if I don't wear all my, government pasted body junk that doesn't do anything. purely for the sake of when you're dealing with the ring knockers, they are laughing their ass off because they've got you doing stuff that is totally useless, or a shadow, like a mimic, like sky god worship. You know what they got you doing? You know, you all laugh about the natives in the Pacific Islands who worship and have like bamboo airplanes and have helmets and have boom mics made out of bamboo, and you're all laughing at them. That's what it is like with you wearing all of this junk that doesn't work, and they are laughing at you because they are getting you to do it. They are laughing their ass off. You can tell by the smirk on good old Doc Kevorkian and a bunch of the other turds that are also laughing their ass off. They're part of the little tiny minority clique that needs to be shot out of this country. I want you to think about it. They look at you. It's like that coffee filter crap, okay? Well, let's go through the PPE process. People go, well, doctors wear them in the operating room. Yeah, and when a doctor goes in or a nurse goes into a clean area, this is to keep the bacteria down. They know that viruses are a very different bird. But when they wear all of that technology, if they're really worried about viruses, as many honest doctors and nurses have pointed out, they now have full spacesuits. They now have everything they need to completely isolate themselves from the patient, if that was your fear. Bacteria is what they're concerned with, which is why you're wearing the basic PPE equipment. However, here's the thing. If you walk into an operating room, you have what typically is a chief nurse, or at least a coordinating, it's basically like the straw boss supervisor for the procedure that's going on. There's a bunch of things that each of these people do, by the way, including counting the surgical equipment to make sure that nothing was left in the patient. You do know that, right? Well, on top of that is, if anybody leaves the room, you're not coming back in with what you wore leaving the room. If you go out and you cross-contaminate, you drop that face piece, which is throwaway, that blue piece of crap that they've got you all wearing, that thing goes in the trash as biological hazard. You do understand that, right, too? You have PPE controlled containment. And, for instance, gowns, which may have cross-serum and other, cross-contamination material, they go into a bag. If they're paper out and they're castaway, they all go in with the masks and they all get fried, or they at least get treated as isolated bio-waste. Okay? Same is true with the headgear, because of all the nasty stuff in your hair. Oh my God, I didn't think about that. I need to cover my head because of my hair. Oh God. Oh, please don't start that with me. Please don't. Okay. But the process is such that everything is treated as, if you are going to tell me that you are of the religion of the coffee filter, then don't come to me as an unwashed idiot and try to tell me what you're supposed to be doing, because I will tell you exactly what you should be doing. When you get out of the car, you shouldn't be putting on that PPE unless you first of all properly cleaned your hands, gloved your hands. But how do you glove your hands in an unclean environment and really stay clean? But then you're going to put that mask on, and when you put that mask on, you don't touch it, you don't move it, you don't take it off. You go into your environment that is so dangerous you felt you needed gloves, goggles, and a face mask and a face shield, when if it's that dangerous, you shouldn't be there in the first place, because there's nothing critical that you're doing at the China store, at the communist China making profit store. There's nothing there that's that essential. If you really believe you need all this crap, you shouldn't even be there. That's my attitude in general. But okay, now you got it on. When you go through, you should have some kind of device so that you don't make contact with whatever you're looking at. In fact, why are you touching anything on the shelf? You shouldn't be allowed to touch anything on the shelf. Why? Because you would have cross-contamination issues. So if we want to get religiosity about this whole thing, this BS with these masks and PPE equipment, then I get to be the PPE equipment police, and I'm going to explain to you how it should be done right. And your cross picker, of course, needs to be clean if you're going to carry one in. You might only be allowed one from the facility, and even there it is only so that you can pick and put your product onto the cart that you're allowed to push around, which, by the way, should have been sterilized from the beginning if it's so dangerous that you're wearing the PPE equipment. And I mean sterilized. I mean they need to have a drive-in unit where they literally bio-wash everything. None of this spray bottle crap. Look at the latest of work you've got there. You do realize that, for instance, they have these things. You want to talk about PPE equipment? You probably don't even know this. They have units big enough to sterilize cages, animal cages that are taller than you, that hold baboons or hold monkeys and hold chickens and hold rabbits and hold dogs. And you wheel the whole thing in there, and it is literally a sterilization machine. Why don't we have that for the grocery stores? Because if it's so damn dangerous at Maynard's that you got to wear a mask, then it's pretty damn dangerous, and all these carts need to be wheeled in. They need to spend several tens of thousands of dollars and have a bio-decontamination unit where they drive it in, shut the doors, bring everything up to temp. It sterilizes everything. They go out the other end with a little, thumbs up, and the next batch go in. But if I don't see that, don't tell me how you're serious. See, this is where, why would you bother? You've been living with crap far worse than this for years, decades, all your life, and all of a sudden some Fruit Loop, nutcase, Jewish piece of trash in Washington that looks like Dr. Kevorkian but acts like Burns, even to the point of putting his little fingers together, and in the process, step by step and over again, reproduces the same image intentionally to laugh/joke about what you are being put through. Why are you listening to that turd? And for that matter, why do we have any confidence in the government in any way, shape, or form because of their ill performance here? Go ahead, caller, jump in there, please.
Yes, I think the reason they're doing this, I saw them put up a video on the website there, Liberty Tree, I can't think of it. Anyhow, it shows the Kevorkian guy announcing that we need to start wearing goggles. And then, like you said, earplugs being next. And I'm thinking these murder booty shoes you put on when you go on a murder scene with those blue booties that we wore next. Yeah. And I could just see. Yeah, and I wanted to see somebody take a real small greenhouse A-frame. Oh, this is number 4 here. Like you stand up in, it's like a 2 foot by 2.5 foot, and put caster wheels on the bottom of it and walk through the stores and have people going beside you as your pickers, so you're in a bubble. And that would freak people out, Right,
and the pickers have to be in a complete spacesuit system too, though, because again, we can't have them, they're at risk. How long were the pickers at risk? Oh, I didn't think about that. Oh my God. We need to save the pickers.
And then you have a microphone inside your suit that makes you sound like Darth Vader. I want those cans of peaches.
Yeah, but then here's the problem with the picker. He looks at you and goes, I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that. 2001, remember?
Right.
So I want 2 of those.
Incrementally...
I want 2 of those rolls of toilet paper. I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that. What? And then, of course, remember, you're going to answer with a Darth Vader voice. What are you talking about? It looks like your throat needs a throat hug. Go ahead.
Well, the goggles will be next. I mean, it is next. The next is the plastic gloves, and then next is get rid of the paper money, because that's what they're incrementally. Everything's starting to be dirtier and dirtier and dirtier.
I want somebody to explain to me how the goggle thing works. I mean, how is it? I mean, show me. I want someone to show me where the cross-contamination has come from with your ocular collectors, your eyeballs. I want someone to explain that. Well, explain that to me, dude. This is insane. I mean, this is but then again, this is to the point where the only solution is to shoot his damn ass dead. And to get rid of the regime, because I'm talking about all these pieces of trash from overseas that we've got that have infiltrated into our country. They are a minority, and they need to be gone from our life. That'll settle this whole thing real quick, because it's not going to work. Go ahead, jump in there. Oh, number 4 out. Sorry about that. Anyway,
Mark, I think I can explain this, okay? All of your mucous membranes have to be covered. Now you have obviously your eyes. You can get dust in your eyes. You can have allergies, and the allergens actually affect your eyes, so therefore it must be corona that can actually also affect your eyes as well. So we must make sure that we cover all of your mucous membranes.
They're going to save me from my allergies.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, thank
they're going to
goodness.
save you from your allergies. So you want to. But when
Do you
you
wanna
wear
know how
glasses, it fogs up everything. So there.
Do you want to know how they? You know how they save you from your allergies in an allergy clinic? How do they do that? Do you know how do we save ourselves from all of our allergies? Now, granted, you either get the treatment or you don't. But they expose you to progressively more and more of what you're allergic to, and your body builds up a natural defense.
It's called an immunity, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, anybody knows anybody ever, Phyllis, have you been to an allergy clinic to be tested?
Oh, yeah.
Ever in the past? I mean, years ago, like, well, let's say the dinosaur era when we were younger, say, 20, 30, 40 years ago, okay,
No.
which is not the dinosaur era. That's modern times. But, guys, you ever had a patch test? Phyllis, have you ever had a patch test?
Yeah, I did. I actually did.
On your back?
In the 1990s. No, on my arm. And
Oh, that was the cheap one. That was the easier one. Okay.
But still, it doesn't. Well,
and how many different pin pricks did you get on your arm?
I don't remember. It's been a while ago.
Was it 50,
traumatic
60?
Experience.
I don't want to forget it. Okay, let me remind everybody what it looks like. You ever had those little the candies that are like we used to be glued to the paper, right? Remember wax paper, and you used to pick them off. Well, picture something like that they lay on your arm. Although on your back it was 100 and some items. They lay it on your back, and then the nurse has to play, Chinese acupuncture. Only once, but on each one.
Yeah.
And they go pick, 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 and really it is. It's like acupuncture, only they stab you, and you have to hold still. Now, if you screw up and you move, you got to hold still while they're doing this. You lay on your belly. They put this on your back. They map them out. They apply them to your skin. They lay them on your skin. Then they tag you with each one with a pinprick, and then they watch. And they watch. And they watch, and they survey, and they watch, and oh, look, there's a spot that doesn't look good. There's a spot that really doesn't look good. Oh, that one's even turning colors, and your skin is bubbling. Oh, that doesn't look good. And after you're done with the patch test...
That's what happened with the arm, too. Same thing.
Yeah, the same way, exactly. Only, again, it's almost like they're using soft tissue area to identify what it is you're allergic to, and then they proceed. Now, when they proceed, here's what most of you don't. Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know what they're doing now. They're probably just gassing people. But traditionally, what would happen is they would determine the level of allergic response, and then after that, you come in every week, and they give you a shot. What is the shot? Is it magic medicine? No. All the shot is a quantity of the, in fact, it's supposed to be, you don't need to tell me, they can be doing anything to you. But the fact of the matter is, if it's as they describe, the purpose behind it is that they give you a small amount of the actual material that you're allergic to that is in sterile compound. And then they wait to see if you go into an allergic, a hystemic reaction of some kind, okay? Could be the histamine response could be swelling of the skin, itching of the skin, closing of the eyes because of swelling, and a number of things. If it's a real bad reaction because they've gone too far into the level of material, then what they have to do is they actually have to counter whatever it is that they've given you, depending upon what it is you're allergic to. There's a number of different antihistamine responses, solutions that they have that they then introduce. You get another shot, in other words, and then they wait to see if they've got you stabilized. Then they go, okay, next week when you come back, we have to kind of back it off to this level. And then they start from that level, and then for weeks and weeks and weeks, or months, or in most cases it's a year or two, progressively, by injecting you with more of what you're allergic to, you have built up a defense so that you do not respond physically in the real world with an allergic response. But it takes a lot of time. That's what allergy clinics used to do. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't even know if they even exist now. They obviously do. I mean, they got to. But who knows what they've come up in the way of a gimmick now or a change. But there are procedure changes. But, guys, that's That's what you do. You expose yourself to more of. Now, granted, you don't roll in poison ivy. Here's the problem. Most people are allergic to poison ivy. If you're not allergic to poison ivy, you're in the extreme minority. Poison oak, poison ivy, go down the shopping list. There are certain things that the histamine response and the physical response of the body is pretty well guaranteed because it's a poison. In fact, a high toxin / poison, which is why your body reacts the way it does to that item, as opposed to, say, dust mites, corn. It can be chlorine. Everybody has something that they're allergic to. All the responses are percentages.
Timothy.
So, go ahead.
Timothy, even if when I actually pick up a bale of hay and I take some of it out to the animals, wherever that Timothy hits, it looks like I just got stabbed with acupuncture.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that, again, you either bite the bullet and live with or anticipate. And again, in some situations, it can go the other way. Example, bee allergies. Bee allergies don't show up the way you'd expect, but it's because of, again, a progressive introduction of the material that the bees produce that actually becomes cumulative in your system, which then at some point you have an allergy response to bees, to bee stings. And that's something that's why beekeepers initially in many cases do not in any way, shape, or form have an allergic reaction to bees. But they get stung, and over a period of time, years, decades, eventually they end up with an allergic response or reaction that is quite extreme. There's a point where you hit a wall. And this is an example of going in the other direction with an accumulation of the material, the body's physical response and register of the poison, and how it eventually responds or can't defend itself, and the body responds in can be a very terminal way if you're not careful. And again, that's why epinephrine, that's why you have the epi shots, all the other fun stuff that you carry if you really know what I'm talking about. So this is where, again, what would you do? They've already talked about viruses, what we do or how we defend ourselves. They don't want to talk about basic science. In fact, they avoid that when everybody talks about basic science. They're being castrated and lobotomized because you're not supposed to remember your biology class. You're not supposed to remember any higher education courses in science and chemistry that you may have received, which have overlapping interests with regard to the threat that we're presently facing, which really is nothing more than a common threat that we experience every year. It has been propagandized and made disproportional. And it's why, again, it's an act of war. In fact, it's a way to cover what is an intentional destruction of our economy and our wealth. Ergo, that's why they want to do the cashless society thing and why we need to shoot their ass. See, I will give them a lead injection or a copper-jacketed lead injection, and we'll settle the problem, and we won't have a problem anymore. That's where we are with these dumbasses, as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing going to fix this other than a war, other than a conflict. Go ahead.
What they're seeing is that these vaccines that you're coming up with, in fact, Gates was on apparently again about this, but they had already tested one of them or, several of them. I think one of them for sure, and they're RNA, and they've never done the RNA thing before, so this is something new. And many scientists have warned that this is kind of dangerous, and this isn't necessarily a good plan. So he's saying they have to give high doses of this stuff. Gates is.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not going to be doing it, so let's do it this way. We're not going to cooperate with it in any way, shape, or form. We're done. Now, anybody that's in a uniform that thinks they're going to push their small pea-brain idea on us, they're going to end up being shot. Anybody who thinks they're with a bureaucratic police state that thinks they're going to have those guys with guns as backup, they're going to die. If anything like this is escalated, then what has to happen is we need to simply get rid of them from our society. There's no compromise. There's no conversation. There is nothing you're going to fix here. You have got stupid that is so stupid, it is simply, it likes stupid camp. It's going to stay with, it's going to ride with, but by the nature of what limited and minimal education it has received in the public fool system. Now, other people dragging me to the bottom of the pool are in the same category, and they are in the minority. A lot of people are fed up with this, and we're finished with it. In reality, we can't let it go any farther because every little incremental step now is taking you. It's like fishing hooks. It's like fish hooks attached to you. It takes too much to cut them out. You're better off stopping it so you don't have to cut the fish hook out. Think about it that way. We're done with this. We really have to be repeating this. We're done with it. I have no confidence in this government whatsoever. I have no confidence in the commercial/lying elements that are tied into it. If they were in front of me, I'd put a bullet in the meat-controlled media so fast to make your head swim. And in fact, even if I had the combatants there, I'd make sure that those peckerwoods holding the microphones or those talking heads, if they were right there where I could shoot them, I would shoot them first. I can always find the grunt. But that piece of trash that's betraying us, that's lying and knows it's lying and has repeated the lie, that POS could try to hide. Put a bullet in it before it leaves.
Hey, Mark.
The grunts, you're already going to be at war with them. Many of these idiot sticks that'll follow any order given, you're already at war with them. They won't be hard to find. You just got to keep hunting them down, too. And they're going to try to prevent being bulletized. Go ahead.
There's a couple things. One, what I'm noticing is that people, not everybody, but there are more people that want to hear and want to know where they can go. There are resources where they can actually learn the information and learn better information. So there's a lot of people out there that are starting to listen. And I'm thinking that maybe it's time to actually get some paperwork together. I know everybody doesn't have a computer, and that's what makes it kind of hard. But maybe get something together where you can actually give people, and maybe there's people in different areas that can do this. We're going to eventually do it here somehow. But maybe there's people in other areas that just have the resources. I mean, a printer, that's what I'm talking about, not other resources. But anyway, a printer where they can actually start printing some of these things out and maybe handing them out. And one of the things I was thinking, and I'm going to try to get it done, I will get it done. There was an article on From the Trenches, and there was a video about how this is a satanic ritual. And I'm thinking that it's a really good idea, and we're going to do it here. I'm going to do it here. That it's a really good idea to print that thing off and then to send it to all the churches, because the churches are
not send it. No, you've got the right. No, I agree. You've got the right idea. In fact, it's fascinating because we're all on the same page. Everybody's been. I think what you're addressing here. Let's think about this for everybody for a minute, guys. They keep bollocksing and banning and whatever, but a physical piece of paper with the writing on it, they have to go out and find. This is why they burn the books. And what you're saying right now, think about it this way. How many people are in your township? How many people do you think live in your township?
I'd say over probably 25,000, maybe not that many, but
25,000 times however many pennies it costs, or even, and again, it's going to be a chunk of change in the long run. But here's one of the fun things to think about. I am not interested in converting the leftist, because the leftist isn't going to listen, and typically the gray matter isn't functional between their ears anyway. They're frothing at the mouth Fruit Loops to begin with. If you start to pay attention to your environment, and you are selective, but you offer physical information, you start to rally the people whose brains are still functioning, and those are the ones that count. In fact, if you give the right person, I've said this many times, how did American Peril move? Now, the right place, right time is everything. Right now, people are wanting information, but you also have to give them something fixed and rigid that they are able to physically control and tangibly, manipulate. By doing what you're talking about doing, that serves that exact purpose. You have the information. It is in physical form. You transfer it to people who are, if not of like mind, are asking questions. One of the things that's cool about this situation right now, like I said, at the stores, how would I distribute information in your area where you have 20,000 people? I'd be sitting outside watching the people who aren't wearing the masks when they go in until they get to the door, or the ones that as soon as they hit the door and get out, they pull the mask off because they really don't believe in the bullshit. They're just putting up with it. That person is already demonstrating physically. This is where, in reverse order, they're saying wearing the muzzle is a demonstration and an act of submission. It is. That's what it's all about. Some people are doing the kowtow only to the degree necessary because they need something in their mind. They got to get something done, so they're doing it because it predicates. It eliminates wasting time and resources, or not being able to accomplish something. They have no interest in the ritual. They are minimizing what they're doing. Unfortunately, they are still empowering the enemy by doing whatever they're doing. but that person is ripe for, showing the other path, which you're talking about doing. So I would go to stores where they demand the mask, and I'd watch the zombies who are wearing the mask before they even drive into the parking lot, ignore them. The ones who are wearing the mask when they're in the car and get out, ignore them. See, this is the one thing I've said a million times on the air here. Our enemy has provided us with a litmus, a tool, to actually determine how to focus our resources. So, the zombie is not going to change. The zombie who is so crazy that they're wiping down their car when they're inside it and they're by themselves, and they're wearing the gloves, and they're wearing the mask, and they're wearing even like head stuff. I've seen that. They've already got all the junk that everybody's talking about. Those sociopaths are not going to be fixed. They are probably Prozac users or, Zoloft users, or take your pick, whatever psychotropic, the one I talked about in the first hour. Those people aren't going to change. But the guy that ripped that mask off the moment he went out, and he's really focused, his brain is obviously working, that's the person, Phyllis, that you give the paperwork to. Hey, you do like what's going on here? What do you mean? Well, I noticed you took the mask off. Don't you believe in this? And they're trying to calculate. Watch their face when you say that. They're trying to calculate if you're trying to be belligerent or if you're asking them a sensible question because you're a thinking human being. They're going to be happy to find another thinking human being. I know I am. Phyllis, aren't you? Isn't it splendid when you can find a person who hasn't lost their brain into stupidity right now?
What was interesting, there is, it is. There are really more people out there. I saw one lady, she went back to her car. She went out, she was going to go in and get her food and take out thing, and she got halfway to the door and went, and came back and got her mask and put it on, and then, like she was disgusted. She had to do this. I saw one lady, she was in the laundromat, okay? She's walking around, no mask, nothing on, okay? So I went to go in, and she throws the mask on, and I looked at her and I said, you don't have to put that on for me.
Right, exactly.
Because I don't, she said, oh, it's the law. I said, not really. It's not really the law. And that's the problem. People just seem like these mandates, just like things are coming down from the Supreme Court. They all think that they're laws, and they're not laws. But
no, it's never been voted on. It's never been signed into law.
Right. And people don't understand that. They just seem like everything that comes from something, no matter what agency it is, no matter whatever it is, that must be a law. And so they're not thinking about this. And the store owners are scared. I mean, there are a lot of them that are just scared to death because they're afraid they're going to lose their license. To be honest, if they lose their license and they still, stay open, what's going to happen? If we go in and we start shopping there more and more because they don't do this.
Well, that's the other half of this battle. Number one is individuals. Number two, and in fact, even with businesses, a lot of them, that's what they did here in Michigan. Is a lot of businesses were opting out and no, I'm not going to. So what the Fruit Loop, Greta Bruce Jenner did here is she said, well, we're going to go right back to where we were. Well, it's because they were looking for subservience. And they need to have everybody. They thought that their religiosity of the mask had been pasted in everybody's brain, but any place where you didn't have to, they saw the increase in business. Now, the moment they started the nonsense where they came in, like the health department has come in and harassed certain businesses, well, then their business goes down. And it's the small businesses where they're doing this intentionally. So the commies that are in the hourglass positions. See, my attitude on this is what needs to happen is when somebody shows up from the health department to harass someone, they need to be dragged up behind the building and have their legs busted. I'm not exaggerating on that because you want to know why? How many people are in the health department? Well, you know what? That's about 6-7 people that need to have their legs busted. Now, you can warn them once, but warning won't do any good because you got to understand you're dealing with frothing at the mouth, shoe-size IQ communists who are on a power trip. They're in the health department, they're in the government, they're in the cop shops, they're everywhere. And the only thing you could you could warn them, but they're going to figure that that's a demonstration of weakness. So what really needs to happen is these characters that are the peon minions, the outer lieutenants, they need to be taught a final lesson or a severe lesson. Now, the severe lesson is maybe you live, maybe you don't. But the final lesson is, as we work into this, is going to be, I don't know where he went. Or he, she, it went. And I'm dead cold serious about this because it is only a handful. This is what we've been letting happen. We have a handful of party member communists who are occultists. Their religiosity of the mask is just an extension of their religiosity of their belief in Shaitan, Cthulhu, Baal, Moloch, take your pick, whatever the hell it is. I said this right from the beginning. So we get back to the same division over and over again, and it's always the same clique that is thinking they're going to keep playing these games with us. The games are very, very, very quickly coming to a screeching halt. And that's what has to happen, simply because our life's worth our life is worth not wasting over this. Think about the amount of life's time they've wasted of ours right now that for me, I haven't, but I refuse. If I do go into some place, I'm going to wear a gas mask, and if I hear anybody bitch about it, I'm probably going to hit them. I will. I'm not lying. I'll be like, you know what? You're threatening me, and you're putting me at risk. You're putting me at risk. You're putting me at risk. And then I bop them right in the head. Why? I'm not telling you to do this, but it's real simple. They've told me that I need to be this religiosity, this craziness about this thing to the point of, I don't have a brain. Well, then I'm wearing a gas mask because I take the threat seriously. You're wearing a coffee filter, so you're putting my life at risk. That's how I'm going to explain it. In reality, it's that I have total disgust for all these fools. I'm sitting in a car outside in the parking lot now, and I'm not wearing a mask, and every once in a while, you got one toady that's already wearing the mask, and that frothing at the mouth, bug-eyed loon. I had one looking at me today like I thought he was going to. I'm kind of grim looking right now anyway, and I'm looking for what's going to come next. And I'm just looking at this character, and he's looking at me, and it's like, oh, you don't even want to open your face towards me right now. You really just want to keep moving. But it's fascinating. I'm in a vehicle. I'm by myself. I'm not anywhere near you. But you've got these nutcases. And now this is what the communists are counting on, and this is why, like I said, this is like fish hooks. If you stop the fish hook, you alleviate a lot of pain. And you don't have to cut the fish hook back out or go through a lot of pain gouging it back out. So you don't walk into their water in the first place. You don't go into their swimming pool full of piss and turds. That's what they're creating. We have to kill this. We have to kill this. We have to stop it. It has to have the brakes put on it now. And you do not send it. You know what? Here's what's cute. And Phyllis, guys, anybody notice this? Trump's really pumping that we got to get the schools open. Trump is really pushing that we got to get the schools open. Why do I want to send a child to the public school system this fall? Why would I possibly want to do that? What kind of treatment do you think a child is going to get in this school system this fall?
Well, I got an answer for that. I've been thinking about this. Okay. They apparently have rooms, too, that if some child can attest positive for corona, then they're going to put them in this little isolation room or something, which is, number one, cruel and unusual punishment. And what's going to happen is they're going to question their parents, and if they don't have a separate bedroom and a separate bath for this child, they're not going to let them go home. They're going to put them someplace else. So they're going to start stealing children, and then the next thing that's going to happen, and we saw this either in Washington State or Oregon State, where if the parents didn't get some kind of a shot or some kind of a whatever, or let them give the child a shot or whatever, they were going to keep the child. So we see some really bad things happen. I mean,
okay, let's
really
stop right here.
here.
How many people do you think are involved in that process? How many people? I want you to walk through it. There's a teacher who's cooperating with this, right?
Right, and then there's the person from the Child and Family Services.
Oh, well, hold on. There's a couple others in there because isn't there a principal?
Right, principal and guidance counselor.
And there's 4 people right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now then, on top of that, those 4 communists have brought in somebody from another part of the party, which is an aggressive, frothing at the mouth, child raping institution, child perverted services. Or another variation attached to the health department with the health department, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 6. I only have to kill 6 people and I save thousands of children. I only have to kill 6 people and I save thousands of children. I only have to kill 6 people, and I save thousands of children. I only have to kill 6 communists, and I save thousands of children. And if I do that across the country and get rid of the parties, the party members that are the minority, I save millions of children.
Hey, Mark.
That eliminates this. See, this is where, how far do I let the fish hooks gouge in? You know, I'm going to tell you something. Bob Miner, does anybody remember the Bob Miner case? He had his children taken from him now 3 years, 2 going on 3 years ago. They haven't gotten the children back. They've had him dance on one leg and jump on his head, rub his tummy and blink his eyes, and they flat out have put him through everything you can imagine, and every year, and now his limitation is his children hate him and his wife because they've had them for how long? Now, we've talked about this for the longest time. That was where they would pick off 1 or 2 people. Now they're going to step this up and think they're going to do this on this scale. If I kill 6 communists, I save 1,000 children. If I kill, and I mean, we only have so many communist bureaucrats that we have to get rid of, and we're free. Now, if a cop is stupid enough to support the communist bureaucracy, the cop needs to be shot with the rest. And they have cops who are the pedophiles, who go right along with the pedophiles and child perverted services. They are the minority. It is time to get rid of that problem.
See, that's the other thing, too. You have the safety officer in the schools.
Only a handful.
So you have 7 people.
No, only a handful. That's
yeah, but
I'll put 2 bullets on each, and that's only 1 box ammo.
But see that, yeah, you know, and
or,
we're going to have
I'll take that back.
I'll
take that back. It would be they would not. Here's normally what they do nowadays, and it's no different from before. They'll have a committee of monkeys. They're going to tell you that your child, you need to come in. There will be a committee of monkeys, and one of those characters or 2 of those characters with a gun in the room. You bring your 2 squads. You go in. You make sure they're all in the same place. You make sure you tap the button on the radio. And it's kind of like Vlad the Impaler. Anything in that room, it's not leaving that room. Oh, that's mean. Well, this is like a science fiction movie. Think about this like a science. What would you do? In other words, you're at the point where they are trying to kill the next generation of your family's line. They're trying to murder your family and your heritage. They need to die.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
I'm done. See, that's what Bob. Here's the thing with Bob. With Bob Miner, he's in the same situation we talked about for. I've done 30 years worth of radio. Okay, and I've seen this over and over again, time and time again. They'll take somebody's children, and then they're still telling you, "Well, I'm protesting every day. It's been 4 years, 5 years, and every 5 years around a street corner in front of the courthouse." The courthouse perverts have ruined and destroyed the family. They've stolen the children, and the guy is still out front. It's been 5 years, and his children were 9 years old. They're now in their teens. They'll never get that back. The only way we can save these families so that they can enjoy each other's company and the lifetime that they have is to get rid of the communists in America, to get rid of them.
And that's the other thing that they're doing, too, is they're creating a new generation that are all brainwashed. They're lost in space. There is a song, I can't remember what the name of the song is, but it goes, a generation lost in space with no time left to start again. And I can't.
Bye. This American Pie.
Oh, it's American Pie. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry.
Yeah.
And of course,
all
the
this
little skedaddle
Black
piece.
Lives Matter, Kill Whitey stuff is going to spill out in the schools, and these kids, they're not armed, so they're not going to be able to defend themselves against it.
Right. Well, again, my point, kill all the way. Okay, here's the thing that's going to happen if you go to the schools. Number 1, everything Phyllis described is already on the platter. Your children will already, and you're already supposed to be cowed down because you're supposed to apologize for your life's existence, for your family, for your heritage, for whatever. And then when you send your children to school, the blacks are going to beat on your little white kids. It'll be 4-1, 5-1, 3-1. Your girls will be raped. And you'll be told that, and by the way, I have seen this physically before when I was growing up, so I know exactly I've seen all of these records before. They will rape your daughters in school. It'll be in the girls' bathroom, by the way. Oh, and by the way, because they've had such a problem with so many attacks and molestations, they'll shut down all the bathrooms on the floor if it's a multi-floor school, and they will still have, without proper care and supervision on every one of the floors, a gang of 4, 5, or 6 blacks will wait till a girl gets in the bathroom. They will block the door. Everybody else is supposed to be cow-eyed because they don't know how to gang up on the enemy. And they will rape 1 or 2 or 3 girls in the bathroom. And then we will get it in the news, maybe, but most likely not initially, because the same communists that are going to tell you that they need to dope you up are going to tell you that the blacks can do no wrong. And then that child will be ruined for life because you allowed your child to go into an enemy encampment where they should have been kept as far away from it as possible. And then the enemy encampments need to be destroyed. We've let this is a regurgitation and a regurgitation and a regurgitation and a regurgitation of the same scam over and over again. Now,
there's a second reason to keep your pencil sharp.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, this is where now the level of frothing at the mouth and the bug eye is not a bad thing, because like I told you, if this war had started, say, last year, and they'd started going after the guns, think about this. All of the muzzle wearers are basically the leftists or the doped up people who side with the leftists. You would not have been able to identify them so easily as you can now. If I see a muzzle wearer that's wearing a commercial muzzle nonstop, all that person is so far around the corner, they're not in our camp. They're way in shape. There's no way, shape, or form they could possibly wrap their brain around anything that has to do with freedom or liberty. Period. So right off the bat, they're questionable. I want you to think about that. If they're such hypochondriacs, such neurotics, such sociopaths, they already have a mental disorder that puts them in question. You see how that works? That's the part that, oops, they've made a big mistake here. We actually have had the hardest time. Everybody goes, well, they're going to infiltrate this, and they're going to blah. Okay, well, this bunch won't. How can they? I want you to think about it. Right now, would you trust anybody who's got a commercial cloth face mask and wears it down the road in a car, in a parking lot where they aren't even near anybody, and then proudly walks in and goes into a store where more of the same sociopaths are congregating?
Hey, Mark.
Go ahead. I
want to put in a little plug here. Hanes has decided to make, the underwear people have decided to make face masks.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So they made face masks. They come in a 5-pack. They, where I bought them, I bought them at the Dollar. I bought it at the Dollar General, and it was actually $10.
Well, the jockey did the same thing. All they did was they cut the back end of their regular brief, male briefs, and they'll tell you that they have a feeding port up front. It actually is where the penis normally comes out in a pair of underpants. But they'll tell you that that's a feeding port.
Well, these don't have a feeding port, but just so everybody knows.
Then they're not the good ones.
If you call
the good ones, they'd have a penis feeding port.
And therefore, you don't have to take the mask off ever.
They're right, exactly.
Your food through the little straw.
Right, or something else if they're demanding it and they happen to be the queer that's in charge.
Well, here we go with they have an 800 number on here for customer service. So I called that, obviously. And they have a disclaimer on, not a disclaimer, but they talk about how the product has been authorized by the FDA under an EUA for use by HCP as PPE.
And DLS and QLM, which said that BBY could CDL your KKLM.
Yeah, and these are supposed to be good. I mean, they've got all this other stuff.
It is because there are more than 5 acronyms involved, Phyllis.
Well, anyway, I had to look all this stuff up, Mark, to see what it was. But anyway,
And don't forget, there's a BBMFIC giving you all of the authorization codes.
Well, anyway, so I went and I called them. Well, the customer service people don't know anything about these masks. They have no idea. So I asked them questions, and the ones that I happen to have were made in Vietnam. Well, they're sourced, and I said they're 100% cotton. Please don't be fooled by the 100% cotton, because they source these from different places. They're actually made in 10 different countries. So the cotton, they have no control, no quality control about these things. So if you're planning on putting your children in these masks and sending them to school, they may get sick from the mask.
Well, only in that, what they don't explain is you need to do a sterility clean to prep them before you use them. But if you're using the cloth ones, you can't have one, because do you have just one handkerchief? I mentioned this several times to other people. Do you have just one cloth handkerchief? Well, no, you buy them in bundles. Why do you buy them in bundles? Well, because they get dirty. Do you have one cloth mask, or do you have 10 cloth masks?
Well, we have 5 in this package, and they can be
right, there we
laundered
go.
for 20 times. And
I've laundered them 20 times before I used them, let alone.
Don't put a fabric softener in them, please.
Because have you looked? It's like I said. You ever thought about the conditions of the countries where you're getting them from? Which nobody, of course, wants to ask. It's just like the stuff from China. Have you ever seen how they make things in China?
No, thank you. I don't want to.
No, we don't want to. We just want the end product. Okay. I don't know whose fingernail clippings those are.
I thought I'd pass that on because I thought it might be relevant, you know what I mean, that somebody may have bought these things thinking that, I mean, because it says 100% cotton. Now, how you don't really usually think beyond that. It's supposed to be 3-ply, breathable, it wicks away moisture, and then it's supposed to have the mask may contain silver and or copper. Now,
well, that'd be nice. If it had silver or copper, that would be good, actually.
Yeah, I have a question. You guys were talking about all those alphabet acronyms. Did you? You have to read all that before you put on your DVDs, right?
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I'll tell you what. Like I said, my face masks all say jockey, so I know I got the best. The little special elastic strap for the special design, where it has the feed hole in the front. Well, you know, Jockey was smart. They just went through and had the Vietnamese seamstresses rip open a bunch of packages, you know, take the butthole, you know, the butt wipe end, and, you know, cut that out so it pulls over the head, and you have that Jockey band right around about at eyeball height, which really looks good. It's like you're a sports guy. I'd say something else because I think you're a beep head, but that's me, you know, beep head. And something about Moby Dick.
Well,
did he say Moby Dick, sir? No, he said something else. And head.
Hey, dig this. You know, I've been out and about, and I've had to use a mask a couple times just to resupply, like you were indicating earlier. And yeah, I've had somebody threaten to lay their hands on me, which I told them to bring it on. Had them threaten to call the cops a couple times, and one of the bus drivers, he was giving me some crap, and I told him, I'll tell you what, buddy, it goes like this. I don't have to wear the mask, all right? And I don't have to disclose anything to you, because it's not the law that I have to follow, all right? Some ordinance crap. And I says, if you want to make an issue out of this right now, bud, I'll tell you what. Summon the police right now. Let's hook it up, you know? Well, I guess he didn't care to summon the police. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I'm running into some of these Fruit Loops out here, man, and you know, I keep praying, God, don't send that fool my way. Please don't.
Well, that's where the step
I will
up is going to
dispatch one of these fools.
Yeah, the step up's going to end this, as far as that goes.
Yeah.
That's where we are. I mean, like I said, guys, that diversion you're trying to ignore is the attack you've been expecting. We're here.
Yep.
You're at kickoff. You're on the edge of kickoff.
Now, you know, I live in communist Illinois, you know, and they got all the FOI shit, you know, and really, I'm sorry, I let one go. Really, I don't care about their regulations anymore. But, you know, I am faced with the decision about when do I start packing heat. You know?
Right. Oh, well, no.
Because we're right there on the verge.
Yeah,
we're
well,
right
this
there
is
on
where,
the verge.
okay, now I'll qualify this again. Personally, you need to avoid all contact because escalation is imminent. And personally, okay, a small unit action.
The escalation is going to hunt you down, Mark. You know
right.
that.
It's good. The way you just the issue is when it does finally kick in, and it may have to be that you have no choice. Like I said, I'm going to go down the road and you leave me alone. You're going to come down the road and you won't leave me alone. You're going to die. That's where we are. It's to the point where, okay, you want to be crazy over in the grocery store, that's fine. But what you've got is this idea they're going to escalate it. Like I said, these are fish hooks. It's going to be expensive and painful to individually cut out. You don't want to get hooked, so instead you stop them. You have to. Then we're stopping them, and that's where it's across the board.
Well, you know,
a larger scale.
This is what all us American men, male and female, who abide in the lawful, our free dominion and our lawful realm, you're gonna have to figure out what is lawful, necessary, and proper to protect your holding. And but the thing is you know, I know who I am and what I'm about, what I've done, and I know I've talked with you, I've talked with many of the people, I've listened to many people. Yeah, I'm going to tell you what, administrative state pimps, punks, and perverts. Yeah, you better bring a bag lunch, because you got a lot of people out here that are going to make a real sport out of wiping your ass or wiping your filth up with your ass.
Well,
anyway, that's all I got to say, Mark.
Real
I'm
quick,
back
because we got to go anyway here, but let me point something out. It's like I said, count the minions you actually have to get rid of. Do you think any of these patty wastes out there that are bug-eyed? They're not. What are they always doing? It's like the Antifa. Antifa has a conflict. They attack people, and then all of a sudden, what do they scream out in all these videos? Call the cops! Call an ambulance! Get his license plate number! Why? Because you're going to tell the cops who you said you want to get rid of? So understand that those people will not, they are still counting on the idea that some mercenary or minority second party is going to step in. When you get rid of those who are willing to cooperate with the communists in that second party mode, then, and it's a very small threat, then all of a sudden the very thing that they really thought they wanted, they're going to find out they didn't, because all of those characters are gone from the game. And there's only so many of them. And again, like I said, go down the shopping list. How many would it take? How many would you have to get rid of? Well, Mark, you can't. They're going to, if they step out of their job, and the ones that are like the real sickos like with the schools, I don't want them to. They won't anyway. They'll figure they have the guns that they've always had, that they've stolen children with, like child perverted services. Child perverted services and the baby murderers there, the child murderers there, will continue because their brains can't wrap around the idea that we've gone to war.
Yeah, it's real simple, Mark. These cats are outlaws. They're outside our law. They do not honor our law. You know, that is our property.
Right.
So we'll treat them as outlaws.
Right. We're at the point where you go to war, where you actually will, but it'll be on a larger scale. It's going to be very lopsided with every contact. We got to get out of the way, though. We have got to go to break. And we're going to be gone for an hour. We'll be back at 8 o'clock. God bless our republic.
Death to the New World Order.
We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The empire is on the run.
We march day and night, 24/7, 365. We ain't going to rest.
Kill them all. Yep, until we win, people, because we have no choice but to win. God bless you all. Again, think ahead, have a plan, be able to develop a new one if need be, roll with it, and win. You're in competition. God bless. Bye-bye.
Be well. Blessings and liberty.
This session is no longer being recorded.